the WrestleMania Minutes on Down the Aisle Wrestling Podcast with Robbie Mack and Kevin Laramie. Here's Kevin Laramie. WrestleMania 13, live from the famous Rosemont Rising, Rosemont, Illinois. Rob, Stone Cold, and Bret Hart.
That's all you need to say, Kevin. 1997 was the year that, it not fully, but it was the year that WWF started to turn the ship around and head it back in the right direction. We weren't at the Attitude Era yet, but we had all the ingredients for the Attitude Era. We had The Rock, but he was still Rocky Maivia there. We had Stone Cold there. We just had the two main ingredients were at the show, and who would have known that these two guys that weren't, neither of them were in the main event, obviously, these two guys would eventually turn the entire WWF around with the help of many, many others. But we're tickling the balls of the Attitude Era right here in 1997.
A lot of seeds are planted for the rest of the year in 97 in WrestleMania. We're talking about the Bret Hart heel turn in a way. It's more of a different type of character. Started complaining a lot. Started having that feeling where he thinks he deserves better. He thinks he deserves to be treated better. He almost has a feeling of, I'm better than people. And the whole best there is, best there was, best there ever will be really putting on the forefront. And Bret Hart slowly making its way to becoming a heel turn almost.
This is where obviously they did the flip, the double turn. Yeah. But it's exactly what you said, Kevin. Austin was starting to get over because Stone Cold Steve Austin at this time.
Kick ass and don't take names.
Well, yeah, and he was a character that, to be quite honest, coming off like the kiddie era of 95 and most of 96, he was a character that people weren't used to seeing. Like, even back in our age when we were kids, we didn't hear guys say the word ass or flip people off and drink beer in the ring. And, well, even though we did that later, but you know what I mean? This badass, brash attitude. We weren't used to seeing that. And it was just cool. He was just a cool guy. And the whole, like, goody two-shoes baby face, it wasn't over anymore. And Bret Hart, in a way, was kind of like the John Cena of this day, where he was getting booed and, they turned him heel. And not only did they turn him heel, it was probably the most unique heel turn of all time, because you got a guy who's a heel in the U.S., but a hero in Canada, which made for some great TV and some great Raws in 1997. Probably some of the most memorable Raw that if you ever get a chance to take a look at the Raw from, I believe it was in June or July or maybe August. They actually think it was August, from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Yeah. Holy shit. The crowd was hot.
Yeah, they're just a couple nights before they're on a heat or on whatever, and it's a totally heel dynamic between him and the crowd, and then when he gets to Nova Scotia, he's a hero.
Yeah, it was just so cool to see because it was different, right?
It was.
And it was the first time, sorry to cut you off, Kevin, but it was the first time that we kind of seen the WWF, because they always had like the US and Japan and the US Russia. It was the first time we ever seen like a US Canada thing. And it was kind of cool for us because Canada never really got any love as far as storylines and stuff like that goes. So it was just really cool.
It's not like Canada has a lot of heat, Rob.
Well, you know what I mean? But they gave us a lot of heat. It was just cool to see, and it made us feel a little bit more part of the story.
If you notice, we use the word heat a lot in the description of that WrestleMania, and it's for a good reason. That's the WrestleMania 13. Heat is the name of the show. And the Heat in 1997, I have to say, is a concept that's really been used a lot. Mm-hmm. A great movie that's remembered forever, was popular in that day, coming out a couple years prior, but really became a cult classic in 97. Movie Heat, with all the famous actors of the day. And that movie was that pay-per-view was March 23rd, 1997. The attendance was 18,197 people from the Rosemont Horizon, a very famous venue for wrestling fans.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrestling events that took place there. I believe WrestleMania 2 was there, right?
Absolutely.
I believe so.
It was dubbed New York, Chicago, and LA, but as we know in WrestleMania, as we reviewed it, it was Long Island, Rosemont, and LA.
Yeah, but I mean, the Rosemont Horizon's in the shadow of Chicago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, I guess it would kind of be like Oakville, Toronto for, to keep it, just not to go too local, but I mean, it's kind of be the same thing, right?
It would be. All right, we have to ask the question, and I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask you the question anyways. What's your favorite match of the show?
Well, obviously, Kevin, it's Rockabilly against Flash Funk on the free for all.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, obviously it's the submission match. And do I really need to go on why it was such a great match? These two guys, Austin and Brett, worked great together every time they had matches together. They had the added element of Ken Shamrock, and not only that, they did the double turn. Just they made a star out of Austin in one match. And a lot of people think that the whole Austin thing got kicked off when he did the promo at the King of the Ring 96. But a lot of people forget that he did that kick-ass promo at the King of the Ring 96, and then at SummerSlam, he was on the free-for-all fighting Yokozuna. You know what I mean? So, and Grady Kelly, a good friend of mine, he often says, in his opinion, this was the match that started the Attitude Era. A lot of people will say that it was the Montreal Screwjob, but I tend to agree what this match here was the match that started the Attitude Era, and I would 100% agree with that because the show got a lot more adult content after this, a lot more ass, a lot more damn, a lot more scantily clad women.
A lot more dangerous, especially with the presence of the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, which was on a Down the Aisle Wrestling podcast a couple of weeks ago, number 33. Take a listen. It's really worth it because he's going to fight again soon in mixed martial art, but we're digressing. But just the presence of Ken Shamrock in that submission match, the gimmicky at the end where Bret Hart masterfully cut Steve Austin. You can barely see it doing it when they covered that table. It was just masterfully done. The whole match itself, it's a different type of match, Rob. It's really a great put together match. And
they had to really hide the blade that they brought out the ring because, like we mentioned in our WrestleMania 12 podcast, there was a no color policy. So, but they said that there has to be color in this match, and
McMahon's the one commentating, and he has to talk about it. And you know that inside he's going, "All those motherfuckers! What are they doing with my show?"
But I mean, in hindsight, I guess it worked. I mean, to be honest with you, Kevin, Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin is a rivalry that I don't think gets the love it deserves because, you really think of Stone Cold McMahon, Stone Cold The Rock, or Bret Hart and Michaels, but
it never got a real championship payoff, so you can't call it a rivalry to that level.
No, because they weren't in, because Bret Hart was gone at the end of this.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, this match to me is now. I don't know. We'll know that we'll find out in our top 5 at the end of all this. But I'm telling you right now, this match is in my top 5, and my problem is I don't know if to place it number 1 or number 2 because it's that good.
It is. Just a quick side note: The Undertaker defeated Psycho Sid. Match was nothing great at all except a choke slam that The Undertaker did on Psycho Sid that was so high.
Yeah, and I think the most important part, remember, Kevin, is that Psycho Sid was the champion main event WrestleMania this year.
Nobody remembers that. Everybody's right. Steve Austin and Bret Hart. Nobody remembers that it was not even the main event, not even the co-main event. It was 6 matches in the card.
The champ, and the thing about this match, or I shouldn't say the match, but the event itself, it was actually the first WrestleMania not to be sold out. They had to give out, I think, around 1,700 tickets for free just to fill the arena. So
1,737 tickets to be exact.
Okay, so yeah, it just kind of tells you where wrestling was at that time as far as popularity-wise.
But still 16,467 paid, which is not too bad.
No, not at all. But I mean, again, this is the event, Kevin. This is the year.
The only one in WrestleMania history, Rob.
Yeah, that's mess. That hasn't been sold out. That the only thing
that's on you, Psycho Sid.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. Well, think of the 17 people who got tickets for free got to see probably one of the greatest matches in the not only WrestleMania history, but probably in that company's history.
All right, we're moving on. We're gearing towards a milestone in WrestleMania and WWE history. WrestleMania 14 is just around the corner.